Okay, I'm going to be working today with a new SOP that's out for TouchDesigner, the Sprinkles SOP. It's working a little bit slowly right now, but that's because I have so much going on, and it'll make sense here in a second. But yeah, the Sprinkles SOP is a really nice way. They actually just came out with a video on it on the Interactive Immersive Headquarters, which I was on today and talked with Elbers. Thank you, Elbers. That was great advice for everybody that you gave. I'm just always in love with the community that TouchDesigner is starting to build. You know, it's not like it's a completely free software. It's not open source. But because it's built on this kind of same creative coding environment and idea, there's a lot of people that are coming out that are really accessible and are just doing amazing things with work that they also have for a cheap there's a cheap version for educational use, and it's completely free if you're not doing anything but learning it. So learning it is free, and I think that's the most important thing. So all that to say, thank you, Elbers, for continuing to give to the TouchDesigner community, and yeah, give of your time and of everything that you do for interactive immersive headquarters and everything else. So what they also released was a experimental build of TouchDesigner earlier this month, and I believe it's like 44350, something like that. And in it, there are two specific ops that are gone over by the Interactive Immersive Headquarters, and you can check those out. One of them is this one, the Sprinkles SOP, and one of them is the JSON DAT, and that's more for APIs and for backend kind of HTML parsing and API parsing. So if you're interested in more database stuff, take a look at that. If you're interested in the visual side of stuff, that's what we're going to be doing today. So this is basically what we're working with today. We're looking at something that is the I guess, how should I put this? It's just beautiful. The way that it works is, instead of having to go around a geometric figure that you have and put individual points all over the figure, the object that you have inside of 3D, this takes a surface or a volume, or I think there's a couple of other options as well, like I think the negative of that space, and turns that into points. And then you can say what's the seed, but then also how many points, and a couple of other options that they go along with that. So instead of having to worry about having a sphere and then going around and putting a whole bunch of points everywhere and mathematically configuring it, it just says, okay, sphere, we're going to put a whole bunch of random points all over this surface. And then you're done. And then you can take it and use it however you want. So what I'm doing here, I'll go ahead and switch over to TouchDesigner and show you what I have going on. So once again, Interactive or Immersive Headquarters. I forgot that I had these up here. There you go. And there's also the job board. For those of you that are working in TouchDesigner, they just recently came out with jobs.interactiveimmersive.io. You can check that out, jobs.interactive.immersive.io. And yeah, that's a really nice way of being able to kind of figure out what's available currently in the industry, and yeah, what people are doing, and what's available for you to be able to maybe get a little extra cash. I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to turn all of these into well, all of this real quick into a non-viewable mode. So, yeah. All right. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to go through this step by step, and then hopefully it'll make sense here at the end. First off, I start with a sphere. Then I add some noise to it. depending on how you want this to be, you know, how you want this to look, of course, this is all configurable. The period, I have it set to about 0.44 just because I like it to kind of be in on itself a little bit more. But anywhere around, we'll keep it at like 0.59 right now. Harmonics at 4, roughness at 0.046, amplitude of 2.28. Then I have that going into the actual sprinkle SOP itself. And this is where it does its magic. Look, I can, if I wanted to, have this SOP, the sphere, go directly into here, my dear. But instead, I'm having this go here, and it's still keeping up with it. So you can see why it's taking up a lot of my GPU right now, and CPU, because it's having to do a lot of data work here. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually take a look inside of the Sprinkle SOP, but first I'm going to, yeah, turn that back into a non-viewable version. So here is the Sprinkles SOP. What I have it set to is point position, the type, and this is basically what kind of randomization is going to be happening, because it's not going to just stay on one surface. It's not just going to give you one point. It's going to continue to move. So, when you reseed it, it would continue to move. So the problem with seeding it is, okay, here, let me show you something just real quick. If I take the op of the circle, it won't continue to move. It's only moving because this noise op has been entered into the point cloud. So yeah, the point position, this is where you can decide what you want to base it off of. Right now I'm basing it off of the point position. But even me being able to look at like the point normals, it's pretty, I'm sorry, not the point normals, the is it point alpha? No, it's normally the point alpha. It's normally the point position, I think that's used. Anyways, this is still something we're figuring out. It's an experimental build. Oh, right, that was all noise. That's why I was confused. I was like, why is all of this information about randomization inside of the sprinkle op? I was honestly trying to figure this out live. It wasn't making any sense. That's because I was connected to the noise op. Let's take it in the noise op. All right. You have the option of seeding it, and that's just a reseeding. The problem, like I was talking about though, is this is moving because it is connected to the noise op. But it would not be moving if it was just the sphere. So I would have to reseed it. The problem is when you reseed it, it completely randomizes it. So there's not a good way of having a smooth transition unless you do it afterwards, which we're going to take a look at here because we're going to have it go into the particles. Okay, so we have it using the method surface. Here are the other ones that I was talking about. Per primitive, which I think is, yeah, just kind of stays in this area. And actually, that might work a little better. We'll check that out here in a second. We'll stick with surface for now. Bounding box is like just the area that it's using. So that was that kind of everything but I was talking about. But it's, I guess it is using the actual area as well, within the volume as well. So it doesn't have the edges, but it's the everything inside of it. And then from here you can cover completely, approximate, etc., etc. Number of pixels or number of points, you can add as many as your GPU can handle. We're going to go ahead and stick with surface though, just because we're using so many. And then I'm going to click over here and turn that off. So I have this go into a particle. And you can see that that was taking a lot. I have it set to 3,000 currently is how many. I'll actually have it go down to 2,000 just so hopefully it'll work a little bit faster for us. Life expectancy of 6, life variancy of about 0.5, and then everything else is its regular self, I believe. Oh, the time is normally 0.16, I think. So if you wanted to change that at all, yeah, I think this is normally 0.16, but I have it set to 0.121, and that's in the state. So there's the state that I have. This all goes into a geo, which then, of course, I have the geo, the light, and the camera. Now, the camera is the only one that I really started to work with in here. I went ahead and, I mean, if you look at the geo, this is what we have. But I've been working with looking at it more from outside or a little bit closer. So let me see if I do like what if I do a 7 and then tilt it down a little bit more. Okay, so let's see what that does. Right? Okay, so this is all rendered out, obviously, to this render. But because it's still rendered as, you can have it rendered as, because I have it in this particle, you can have it rendered as lines or rendered as point sprites. It's still, we're still rendering out just these itty bitty bits. So I have this go to an edge, and this edge is actually taking in an LFO that's changing the color of the edge. So it's always as red as it can be, but the green changes, and so it kind of changes between a yellow and a red. And that's what's giving it that red to yellow, and so it kind of gives it that fiery look. All right? So when I have it go to here, you can actually see red to yellow. Okay. I don't have it going over anything right now because like right here, I'm not doing any kind of an overcomp because I still want to make sure that I can set it through a feedback loop. So I am going through a feedback loop, and this feedback loop is what actually makes the blur. I do a little bit of leveling. I mean, the blur is what makes this happen. If I didn't have the blur in here, it would look like this. So the blur makes this happen, and it actually cuts down a little bit on this kind of firework effect, but that's kind of an interesting effect as well. This keyboard in is simply for me to be able to do Command R or Shift R, and that resets the feedback. It just sets this just as a pulse. Actually, I think I need to do this as well. Yeah. So, no. Okay. But this goes through a level and then to a null. I always have things go to a null just because in case I want to add anything between here and the composite. But after this, we have the edge going to the composite and the null going to the composite. And this composite is what, of course, goes back to the feedback. If you've taken a look at feedback loops before within TouchDesigner, this should look pretty familiar to you. The composite is set to add currently. This is just some of the other ones that I thought were a little bit interesting, at least. I believe were multiply. No, not multiply. Average. Is that what it was? No. See, there's not very many that work right here. Negate. There we go. But they all kind of look the same. There we go. Divide was another one. But add is really what I was going for. I think what we're looking for. Now, this goes to an overcomp. So I finally add in my black background. So I have a black constant go into the second input of an overchop or an overtop. And I finally have this now go from having a transparent background to having a black background. And if I wanted to, actually, one of the kind of fun things that you can do is, of course, put in a little bit of red. So if I wanted to, I could put in like 0.2 of red, and then it kind of has this reddish hue in the background. Or I can put in, yeah, like a 0.1 even. Oops, sorry. 0.1. Come on, 0. Oh. That's why. Okay. So yeah. Now we have this going to a null, and then this goes to the out, which of course gives us our out. Here, let me. It was something that was, in some way inspiring or gave you the ability to like understand what Sprinkle can do, how it can take a geometry, how you can break that apart and then throw it through the geometry, throw it through the render pipeline, have that go to a render, have that go to a top, and then do your magic. There's a lot that's possible. I'm gonna go ahead and move myself just so you can take a look at all the glory that is back there. Yeah, I think it's pretty nice. Thanks for coming. I'm gonna continue to be on here just for a little while, just kind of playing around. So I'm gonna go back to what I had in this. And if people are still here, feel free to say hi. But I'm gonna stop kind of explaining what I'm doing. I'm just gonna kind of play around a little bit and then cut the highlight clip from here. So yeah, this is kind of like my new way of seeing if that'll work. So this is new. This is like the behind the scenes. If you're watching this on Twitch within the month, or if you're on YouTube before I've clipped it down, then you're seeing the behind the scenes. Or if you're watching it live. So if you're live right now, say hi. I don't think, as far as I know, my chat is working. Everything is coming through my chat, but I don't think anybody's been watching, which is fine. I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it. I mean, I'm not doing it for the people. I'm doing it for myself. Cool. Let's turn back from the interactive immersive headquarters. All right. Let's see. Um, so one of the things that stinks is right now, this is still trying to get a really high FPS because I have um OBS going on. So I'm gonna have to cut down on some of the stuff. Like I'm gonna have to take out the blur. I'm gonna bypass the blur for now, just so I can have this in the background. Whoa, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to do this. Oh, you can't even see that. Why can't you see that? Oh, here.